Okay, good morning, everyone. I think we need to start as this session has already started 2 minutes ago. I would like to welcome everyone here with us today at this very early, nice morning. My name is Dr. Hussein, speaking to you from Cairo today. I'm the chair of this session together with Dr. Sneha and Dr. Sampa. I hope that I pronounce your names correctly, especially Dr. Sneha.
Yeah, my name is Jason.
Good morning, Chair.
Good morning,
Morning,
dears. Good morning, dears. Very nice to meet you. Uh, it's a great chance actually to meet and talk and connect and network. And as you know, this is the main purpose of conferences. So I would like to encourage everyone here with us today to be part of this session. Probably not every person joined yet, but whoever is here, please feel free to be a part of the session, to raise your hands, to write your questions, to engage in the discussions. And together with Dr. Snea and Dr. Sampa, we will try our best to make the best out of this session. So first of all, let me give you a very general introduction. After sharing the screen. So yeah, so we are at session B today, which has already started and will keep going until 11:20 with us. And this session has a very unique and interesting title that we always discuss even in our lectures, in our discourses, even in our friendly chats with friends, which is the sustainability and urban design, with the title of urban risk management. And we have a very interesting package of articles distributed on two rounds, of course, discussing this very, let's say, challenging topic. It's a big challenge in our world nowadays, with the urbanization, with the problems, with the, as you know, climate change and so on. So that's why we have urban risk management, which is relatively a new topic in the world. And we have a set of articles discussing the safety, discussing the waste management, discussing the heat waves, discussing the disasters such as floods and so on. So I hope that it will be a very rich session of knowledge to all of us, and we can help one another. After reviewing some of these articles, it was very, very beneficial to me personally. So I hope it will be for all of us. The session will run as follows. The first round of articles, the first 4 articles, followed by the first round table discussion, will be run by Dr. Sneha, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so Dr. Sneha will take over the first round of articles, and the second one after the first round table, Dr. Sampa will also take over the second round of articles, followed by the second round table. And of course, in the round tables, we will have hopefully very rich discussions. So the floor is yours, Dr. Sneha. You can start whenever you consider.
Yes. So can you just enable the screen sharing?
Yes, you can share now. Do you have any problem with sharing?
Yeah. I think the video is loading, sir. I think it will come in another 1 minute.
Okay.
So,
Chair, maybe should I start and then maybe she leads the second session?
yeah, sir. It's better if you can just
Okay, I think
Sampath,
Dr. Sneha doesn't have a very stable connection at the moment. So Dr. Sampa, would you like to let's
Sampath, sir, can you just play the first video? Sampath, sir, can you just play the first video?
Dr. Sneha, maybe you can stop sharing. Dr. Sneha, maybe you can stop sharing.
1 second, sir. It got stuck.
Okay, I think Dr. Sampa, you can go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you and welcome once again to this session. So the first presentation or paper we have is on assessment of knowledge and fire safety preparedness among employees at shopping malls in Lusaka district. So to present this paper is actually Mr. Simbarash Moyo. And the authors of this paper include myself, Professor Clinton Akbakwa, Dr. Opelwao from University of Johannesburg, then also Mr. Simbarash Moyo from Lusaka Apex Medical University. Thank you.
Medical University, Faculty of Health Sciences, Lusaka, Zambia, and I'm presenting on behalf of Dr. Samba, Professor Clinton, and Dr. Opeluo. Our topic for today is on the assessment of knowledge and fire safety preparedness among employees at shopping malls in Lusaka district. This is the outline. For longer than recorded in history, fire has been a source of comfort and catastrophe for the human race. This tendency of one man's best friend to turn into his worst enemy cannot be underplayed, as improper handling and use of fire has led to several accidents in homes, schools, and various public places. The occurrence of fire disasters is not a new phenomenon in Zambian history. In 1997, Society House was guarded in Lusaka. In the same year, the Cabinet Office was guarded. In 2000, Indeno Refinery was guarded in Dola. Hydroelectric plant in Kafua Gorge was guarded in 2018. In recent years, Zambia has experienced a number of fire accidents in public buildings countrywide. The public buildings with recent fire accidents include the Public Service Pensions Building in September 2022, Melissa Shopping Center in Kabulonga 2016, Chawama Embassy Mall in 2019. Fire, apart from being very useful and essential good for human beings, it can be very dangerous when it occurs where it is not needed and when we are unprepared. Fire might lead to death in case of serious accidents, hence the need to assess the safety precaution measures put in place in these public buildings. The main objective of this study was to assess the knowledge and fire safety preparedness among employees of shopping malls in Lusaka District, Zambia. Common causes of fire in commercial buildings are cooking equipment, heating equipment, electric and lighting equipment, as listed by several authors. Human error is among the causes of fire. Fire safety preparedness practices have been listed, backed by several authors. This study adopted a cross-sectional descriptive design with quantitative approach. The data was collected using a structured questionnaire containing closed-ended questions. The development of the questionnaire used for data collection was informed by the extensive literature review from which variables used to measure knowledge and practices on fire safety preparedness were identified and included on the questionnaire. To measure the respondents' agreement levels, statements were rated on a 5-point Likert scale to measure attitudes or opinions. The data collected was analyzed using descriptive statistics, mainly frequencies, mean scores, standard deviation, as well as coefficient variation to indicate the extent of variability about the mean. Among the 83 respondents who took part in this study, 61% attained secondary education, 38% attained tertiary education, and only 3% attained primary education. Furthermore, with regard to respondents' duration at the current stations of the successive respondents, 74.7% had worked at the shopping malls for the period of less than 2 years, whereas 25.3% had worked for a period of 2 to 5 years. Results regarding knowledge on fire safety preparedness reviewed that most employees had agreed to knowing the location of the closest fire extinguisher and the location of emergency routes indicated with a mean scores of 4.2 and 4.24 respectively. However, the employees disagreed to having knowledge on past method of fire prevention with a mean score of 2.08. Likewise, regarding the knowledge of the number to call in case of fire emergency, the respondents indicated lack of knowledge, as denoted by the mean score of 2.49 and the standard deviation of 1.003. Overall, in assessing the level of knowledge on fire safety preparedness, the results reviewed low levels of knowledge as denoted by a group mean of 2.92, though the standard deviation and coefficient variation scores reviewed some variation in the responses about the mean. So basically, this is what we were talking about. Results on the practices on fire safety preparedness. Reviewed poor implementation of fire safety practices, denoted with the mean scores of which ranging from 1.82 to 3.71. The employees only agreed to one practice, which had the mean score of 4.06. Overall, the mean score recorded was 2.6, suggesting lack of implementation on the fire safety preparedness. This was supported by the standard deviation of 1.008, barely 1, as well as the coefficient variation of 38%. This is what we were talking about, and these are the statements which were used to measure the practices. Discussion. Knowledge on fire safety preparedness. The results agree with literature. Selkovic in 2022, who said that most people do not know that it is their responsibility to prevent fire outbreaks, adding that incidents of fire outbreaks will not go down unless building occupants are well informed on the best practices aimed at ensuring fire safety. Moindi in 2014 pointed out that most of the people do not know the emergency numbers to dial in order to report a fire outbreak. A discussion on the on the practices on fire safety preparedness. The results agree with Kumisa 2014, though the research was on schools, who found that none of the schools surveyed had done any fire safety training or had ever carried out fire stimulations and fire drills. Likewise, Muindi in 2014, in a similar study in universities, found out that the majority of the respondents in the campuses surveyed had never undertaken fire safety trainings. In conclusion, in buildings where a lot of people converge, such as shopping malls and many other public spaces, ensuring fire safety is essential in safeguarding the lives of the people as well as the integrity of the building. The study evidence suggests low awareness as well as poor fire safety preparedness among the employees of shopping malls, public spaces. This has potential to pose danger to human life as well as the infrastructure development in case of fire outbreaks. The study therefore recommends that public buildings should always have a displayed fire safety plan, more so that the employees in public buildings should be trained on how to ensure fire safety as well as appropriate responses in case of fire. Fire stimulations and fire drills exercises should be carried out regularly in these public buildings to ensure that everyone understands the procedures to follow in case of fire emergency. These are our references. I thank you.
Okay. So thank you for that presentation. So the questions and the interaction will come after the fourth presentation. So the next presentation is looking at strategizing solid waste management system for residential and commercial areas in India. So this is a case study on Kolkata city, and this article is by Professor Dibya Jivan Patil, as well as Professor Jyoti Mishra.
Hello everyone. I hope I'm audible.
It's fine. You can, since you shared, you can go ahead. It's fine.
Okay.
I think there is no, I can't hear volume on my end.
Yeah, me too. I cannot hear. Yeah, there's no voice. Is it the video itself?
Yes, a bit. Or maybe you can allow me to, Professor Dido, you can allow me to share from my end.
Is it audible now?
So let me
Dr.
share from my
Dibya, I
end.
think it's better if Dr. Sampa shares the video. So can you please stop sharing and we will share it from our side. Great. Dr. Sampa, please.
Okay, thank you.
Should I share the screen again? Oh, sorry. Okay, fine. Done. Everyone, good day to all. I am Dr. Divya Jibanpati, Associate Professor, School of Architecture from Anant University, India. And my co-author is Jyoti Mishra, Principal Architect from Studio Transform from India. And we are talking about the topic strategizing solid waste management system for residential and commercial areas in India. And we have taken the case study on Cuttack cities. And so we are going to discuss about the research based on the structure of presentation. So starting with the introduction, I would like to talk about the current scenario in Indian cities. And this is the very common in most of the Indian cities. And so we can understand that in most of the developing cities also, this is very prevalent. And this particular research can also be applicable in those cities also. And this particular slides talk about like we have how there is a lot of unawareness among the public and how the waste is being generated in due course of time. And there is some prediction. And in 2014, there was a launch of new scheme called Swachh Bharat Mission, according to which there is an encouragement to do more research on about the efficient solid waste management services. So this is my aims and objective. My aim is to prepare a strategy for an efficient and sustainable municipal solid waste management system for residential and commercial areas under Cuttack Municipality, Odisha, India. And so we can understand that I have some limitation. I'm not considering hospital waste, biomedical waste, hazardous waste, etc. And this is the list of the objectives which helped me to reach out to my aim. And this study idea may be relevant in comparable cities where appropriate and solid waste management practices are not followed. This is the methodology. I have created this framework which helped me to carry out my research. My study area is Cuttack City under Cuttack Municipal Corporation, which has 59 wards. And this study is divided into 4 stages: primary, secondary data collection, analysis, result, and discussion. And I have also done most of the analysis based on the prediction and estimation till 2030. And this uniqueness of this particular research is that I have considered a strategies where how the fund can be collected through willingness to separate, recycle, and willingness to pay for these particular cities. And later on, I have done the estimation of how much waste can be disposed according to the landfilling, composting, and recycling. And later on, next, I have done some cost-benefit analysis which help in revenue generation. This slide talk about the data collection, about the study area, and what are the visual surveys based on my observations. And I have taken only 5 wards, consider 5 wards out of 59 wards in Cuttack cities. And this 5 wards helped me to find out individual wards had a different types of typologies of buildings, typologies of behavior, and also what a type of waste composition and how much waste is generated. And this was calculated for city level also. So now coming to the waste generation, the population estimation is very important. And based on the population, the residential waste was generation was calculated for 2021. And I have done in 2 methods, that is percentage composition of waste content at city level based on nature of dwelling units and based on income group. And out of these, though the target groups are the same, but as per my research and understanding, I have considered the waste generation based on income groups to be more justifiable. Now, coming to the next, I have, after collecting the data, I have estimated the waste generation and projected to 2030 as how much waste will be generated. Same strategies was used for calculation for commercial waste generation also. Now, coming to the other waste generation, where other waste are include construction and demolition waste, hospital waste, shooting waste, and hotel and market waste, and others, that is constituting to around 60% of total waste. So rest of the 40% are included in residential and commercial waste. Now already I have spoken that the other waste are not in my scope of research. So according to my calculation, I estimated that approximately 557.5 metric ton per day of waste will be generated in 2030. Now, coming to the secondary data collection, I have had an opportunity to discuss with the stakeholders, government officials, etc., to find out how many staffs are being used, how many trucks are being used, how many wheelbarrows are being used, and where it is being dumped for the final disposal. And also, there is a very important situation in this particular waste management services that there is no separate tax or fund collected for this particular services. Unlike there's other amenities like water fund, water tax, electricity tax, etc., and other infrastructural taxes. But for solid waste management, there is no such tax. So, in order to have a proper fund, then only there will be a proper efficient collection system and proper strategy for solid waste management services. Now, coming to the result analysis strategies. So, my strategy is that I have prepared a questionnaire, and through household survey, I found out that there are people who are actually willing to take part in public-private partnership and be a part of the public, that they are willing to allow and be part of the activities for separation, segregation, and recycling. And for that, they can also pay for it. So I found out that 71% of people are willing to have a segregation services, and 72% are willing are ready and accept that there should be a recycling services. So based on that amount, the amount of waste that will can be collected for different disposal methods like landfill, composting, and recyclable waste was found out. Now, apart from that, the government also needs fund. So if people are would like to be part of that activities, they need to pay some amount of money. So I found out that the number of people who are quite good, who wish to and are willing to pay for that. So certain amounts have been calculated, and based on that, for different solid waste services could also be done, and accordingly, how much fund could be collected. And based on that amount of services, amount of money that can, or budget that can be used is for labor requirement, how many laborers can be taken for the employment, how many wheelbarrows and cart can be taken for the collection, and how much area is required for the different waste disposal like landfill area, compost plant, and how much waste could be collected for the recycling also. Now, based on that, how much money could be collected, like as we say, revenue generated, revenue can be generated through municipality, through street cleaning, and for community beings, and for odor-free areas, and for transfer of waste, and for landfilling, and for composting also. From out of composting, how much revenue can be generated, out of recycling also, how much revenue can be generated. So this is the cost benefit analysis for different solid waste management services. So, and the conclusion, I would like to conclude that it is possible to have a 100% collection system and efficiently, and also there should be a campaign from door to door for the people to understand, to be aware of the health benefits, and for the better air quality, and also reduce greenhouse gas emission. And this research methodology could be adopted for other Indian cities to plan for municipal solid waste management services effectively. So these references also help me out to carry out my researches. Thank you.
So thank you for that presentation. So the next article is a presentation that is looking at heat waves in the city. So evaluating and mapping vulnerability. So this is a case study of Algeria and Buhema in particular. So this article is authored by Dibashe Abia, Dr. Sarah Hanna, as well as Dr. Gwech, again, I hope I'm pronouncing it correct. And then there's also Dr. Fatima Zahra.
Greeting esteemed audience. My name is Lubasha Abir, and I am a PhD student of architecture at Alanya University in Algeria. I am privileged to participate in this conference, and I would like to present my research findings on heat waves in the city, evaluating and mapping vulnerability.
My name is Lubasha Abir, and I am a PhD student of architecture at Alanya University in Algeria.
Introduction,
Okay.
literature review, methodology.
I think Dr. Abia, or is it Abia, we are getting feedback from your end, or maybe somebody did not mute themselves there. Thank you.
Results and discussion, and finally the conclusion. Let's start first with the introduction. Heat waves present significant challenges to urban environments worldwide, threatening the health and well-being of city residents. The increase in frequency, intensity, and duration of heat waves, compounded by urban heat islands, have made cities exceptionally vulnerable to these extreme weather events. Urban areas experience heightened impacts from heat waves due to factors such as rapid urbanization, widespread use of man-made materials, and high population density. Understanding the spatio-temporal patterns and underlying drivers of heat waves is crucial for developing effective mitigation and adaptation strategies. However, gaps persist in our comprehension of the physical mechanisms and interactions contributing to heat wave occurrences, hindering accurate forecasts and regional projections. Addressing these challenges require interdisciplinary research, sustained observational networks, and advanced modeling techniques. The impacts of heat waves on cities are multifaceted, encompassing direct effects on public health, significant economic and environmental repercussions. Numerous research endeavors are underway to assess cities' vulnerability to heat waves, employing diverse methods and approaches, including empirical methodologies and sophisticated computer models, along with comprehensive literature reviews to inform research methodologies. This study specifically focuses on assessing the vulnerability of the city of Gelma to heat waves, integrating a thorough literature review into its methodology to develop adapted solutions for its unique context. Second, literature review of different heat wave assessment methods. Before the 2000s, general meteorological observations and temperature surveys involving direct collection of meteorological data in the field using measuring instruments. Between 2000 and 2020, the use of satellite data to examine various aspects of urban heat islands such as surface temperature, land cover, etc. Numerical simulations such as computational fluid dynamics models to conduct atmospheric simulations and model heat in urban areas. The advent of high-resolution remote sensing, which allowed for fine analysis of urban temperatures from satellite sensors. Integration of spatial analysis and GIS tools to map heat and assess its impacts on the urban environment. From the 2020s onwards, the increase in application of machine learning techniques such as prediction algorithms to enhance the prediction of urban heat waves. These algorithms can be trained using historical data on weather conditions, urban characteristics, and other relevant variables. Over time, researchers have adopted multiple approaches, but GIS and remote sensing continue to offer significant advantages. They allow for the analysis of variables such as population, land cover use, local climate zones, and building characteristics, which influence vulnerability to heat risks. Briefly, based on the study of various articles assessing urban vulnerability to heat waves, it can be observed that the choice of approaches varies depending on the intervention scale, tools, and available data. However, these methods can be grouped into three main categories as the following: air measurements by sensors, measurements of land surface temperatures from satellite images, and models. Material and methods. Upon a thorough review of numerous articles, we have selected 15 articles that present the primary approaches utilized to analyze and map heat waves in urban areas. Subsequently, a comprehensive depiction of the study area GELMA will be presented. After evaluating various approaches, remote sensing and geographic information system were selected to be applied to GELMA. Remote sensing and GES approach for mapping vulnerability to heat waves in GELMA. Our study uses remote sensing to classify land use and estimate land surface temperature. The land classification uses Landsat images from the 1990s to 2020. Four main classes are identified: urban areas, forests, agricultural land, and bare land, to estimate the LST. The thermal bands of the Landsat images are used, as well as an algorithm based on the NDVI vegetation index to calculate the emissivity of the Earth's surface. The LST is then estimated from these data. By combining this information, the study aims to better understand and map the vulnerability of urban areas to heat waves. Presentation of the case study, GELMA, an Algerian city. Our case study, intercommunal grouping of GELMA, is located in the center of the province of GELMA, in the northeast of Algeria. This region covers a total area of 282.11 square kilometers and has a semi-arid climate with cool winters, an average annual temperature of 21.5 degrees, and an average annual rainfall of 150.3 millimeters. Results and discussion. Mapping and interpretation of GELMA's vulnerability to heat waves. The study's findings highlighted significant urban expansion in the intercommunal group of GELMA between 1990 and 2020, leading to notable changes in land cover and biophysical characteristics. This increase in urbanization has also associated with an escalation in vulnerability to heat waves in the region. Land surface temperatures have risen, particularly in urban areas, bare lands, and vegetative devoid agricultural zones, indicating an increasing risk of urban heat, as we see in the following figures. A significant correlation was observed between land cover classes and LST, underscoring the impact of land use changes on urban heat distribution. Urban biophysical indices such as NDBI showed a trend of increasing over time, while vegetation biophysical indices such as NDVI decreased. These changes signify a transformation in the urban landscape that may exacerbate vulnerability to heat waves by reducing green spaces and increasing impermeable surfaces. Analysis of the relationship between urban biophysics and LST revealed a positive correlation, indicating that the increase in urban biophysical indices is associated with an increase in LST, while a negative correlation was observed between vegetation, biophysical indices, and LST. These results suggest that reducing vegetation and increasing impermeable surfaces may contribute to increased vulnerability to heat waves by promoting the formation of urban heat islands. Conclusion. Urban expansion in Gilma has not altered the urban landscape and biophysical characteristics, but has also heightened vulnerability to heat waves. Understanding these complex interactions between urbanization, landscape features, and vulnerability to heat waves is essential for developing effective and resilient adaptation strategies to cope with the impacts of climate change in urban areas. I would like to express my sincere gratitude for your attention.
Thank you for that presentation.
So Sampa, are you with us?
Yes, I'm there. Just a moment.
Okay.
Thank you very much for that presentation. So the next presentation is looking at post-disaster memorial space design for a resilient yes. My apologies for that. So I hope you're able to see my screen. Yeah, my apologies. I think to have a challenge on my end.
We see the previous one, the previous video, the heat waves in the city.
Okay. Okay, I think it should be okay now.
Yes, now it's right.
Thank you very much. So the next presentation is looking at post-disaster memorial space design for a resilient society. So this is an article done by Professor Seu Suru, Desa Sena, Apia Haumet, as well as Dr. or rather Yukma Rezni. Enjoying the
Our title is Post-Disaster Memorial Space Design for a Resilient Society. This presentation consists of these 8 topics. Traditionally, a naturalness was attributed to the concept of disaster. However, disasters are not natural, but hazards can be. A disaster is a natural hazard combined with human vulnerability. Today's approach describes disasters as serious disruptions to the functioning of a community that exceeds its capacity to cope using its resources. Disasters can be caused by natural, man-made, and technological hazards, as well as various factors that influence the exposure and vulnerability of a community. Nature provides a series of opportunities and risks. However, because of social dynamics and geography, distribution is unequal. This figure illustrates that people of different classes, genders, or ethnicities have unequal access to opportunities like energy sources or water, and also unequal exposure to risks like floods and earthquakes. In disaster management, focusing only on prevention and preparedness efforts while ignoring the social and economic conditions that create vulnerability will be incomplete. Disaster management should consist of a series of methods aimed at eliminating these vulnerabilities, In this presentation, we will discuss the role of disaster museums and memorials in the context of disaster management and community resilience. Comprehensive disaster management consists of 3 stages. 1. Pre-disaster stage. Activities taken to reduce human and property losses caused by the hazard, and ensure that these losses are also minimized when the disaster strikes. Risk reduction activities are taken under this stage, and they are termed as preparedness and mitigation activities. The emergency stage. Activities taken immediately after the occurrence of disaster in any area are called emergency response activities, and they include evacuation, search, and rescue. Disaster response is the total actions taken by people and institutions in the face of disaster. Disaster response includes the implementation of disaster preparedness plans and procedures. 3. The post-disaster stage. Activities taken under this stage include reconstruction and rehabilitation. All these actions can only be successful if it is integrated into the overall development of the region. Preparedness and mitigation reduces the amount of damage and destruction. Memorials serve the purpose of not only remembrance, but also present a way to deal with the past events that provoke negative emotions and enable a glimpse into the positive future. In post-disaster context, memorials give the cities near public places with added urban and social values. Disaster rehabilitation and recovery can be distinguished into 2 categories. 1. Natural. 2. Man-made. Memorials serve for remembering and meditation, and at the same time for forgetting and oblivion of negative emotions. They bring new identity and new integrity to places and enable conciliation and healing of people and society. Museums educate the public through exhibitions, interactive displays, and educational activities, fostering awareness of specific subjects, and they are the primary carriers of cultural memory. Therefore, museums and memorials play a vital role in post-disaster and pre-disaster phases of disaster management. Post-disaster memorial sites can be designed in various scales and scopes to commemorate the event, raise awareness in society, and impart lessons to future generations. Here are some types of memorial space that can be designed in different scales and scopes. Memorial gardens, parks and squares, museums and monument buildings, memorial walls and sculptures, education and awareness centers, memorial trails and remembrance routes, digital memorial platforms. These proposed spaces play an important role in commemorating post-disaster memories and raising awareness in society. Each serves as a significant step in understanding the effects of disasters, enhancing societal resilience, and preventing similar situations in the future. Disaster memorials fall into 3 main categories: natural disasters, man-made disasters, and societal disasters. There are many international examples that have been implemented and planned in this context, but due to limited presentation time, 2 examples were selected to represent each category. Wenchuan Earthquake Memorial Museum, China. The earthquake that hit Wenchuan on 12 May 2008 was the second deadliest ever to be recorded in China. Built as a memorial to the victims, the complex relies on easy-to-read symbol. The idea of fracture dramatically rupturing the placid landscape of green hills. In the same way, the seismic activity opens up wounds on the ground. In this way, it looks very harmonious with the topography on which it is located. Aceh Tsunami Museum. The goals of the Pacific Tsunami Museum are to promote public tsunami education for the people of Hawaii and visitors worldwide, preserve the social and cultural history of Hawaii, and serve as living memorial to those who lost their lives in past tsunami events. The building is also designed to serve as an educational center in case the tsunami strikes again. General Meister Park, Slovenia. The park dedicated to General Meister and the soldiers was planned as an abstract 3-dimensional space. It's an abstract representation of crest of northern border, for which Meister's soldiers fought. Japanese Immigration Memorial, Brazil. The memorial is unique in that the complete building is a metaphor for the relations between nations and people of Japan and Brazil. The bridge metaphorically connects territories, times, ideas, and ideals. The lake represents the ocean dividing Brazil and Japan, and also that of challenges, achievements, times lived. The soft curve of the building evokes cohesion and accessibility, easily reachable and usable by all individuals, regardless of physical abilities or limitations. Community involvement, the active participation and engagement of local residents, survivors, families of victims, and other stakeholders. Educational opportunities, guided tours, exhibitions, workshops, seminars, and educational materials for all. Multifunctionality, incorporate features such as community gathering areas, green spaces for relaxation, recreational facilities, and spaces for reflection and contemplation. These key points were found to be important in the studied examples discussed in this presentation, and other examples examined in the literature review. In addition to the key design considerations, it has been observed that the planting design in the memorial spaces is also an important part of the project. In the literature review, it was observed that the use of plants that appeal to different senses in landscape design has a healing effect and helps to repair post-traumatic stress disorders. Visual stimulation from plants induces psychological and physiological relaxation in adults, positively influences mood and improves the emotional state, and lower anxiety scores. The fragrance of aromatic plants can also induce similar effects on stress levels and mood. Here are some of the plants that have color and fragrance quality. For example, Wisteria sinensis or Prunus cerulata kanzan plants have colorful flowers, and Lavandula officinalis and Melissa officinalis plants have therapeutic aromas. The video can be paused.
Okay, my apologies, Chair. I'm trying to remove the taskbar on top here. Maybe you can, if you can assist.
Later to examine the list in more detail. Studies show that people experience an unconscious calming reaction to touching a plant. And here are some plants that have texture effect. And finally, plants that create a calming sound effect when the wind blows can be used in planting design of memorial spaces. In memorials, plant species which are specially selected for certain situations carry a symbolic meaning. These plants carry important meanings such as representing the losses, symbolizing the rebirth of the society, and nurturing hope. In this example, we see the winner of International Idea and Design Project competition organized for the transformation of the Ankara Gar Square, where the terrorist attack took place on 10 October 2015, in which 100 people lost their lives. The ginkgo biloba tree, which sheds its golden leaves in October, represents those who lost their lives in the terrorist attack. According to the project, the fallen leaves are left on the ground without being collected and commemorate the painful day with the color effect. This is another example. A landscape design project was proposed for open-air earthquake awareness museum to commemorate those who lost their lives in the earthquakes that occurred in Turkey in 2023 and honor those who took part in search and rescue operations. The snowdrop path proposed in this project is an important element of the design. Here is a plant list that can be used for symbolic meaning in post-disaster memorial spaces. Again, the video can be paused later to examine the list in more detail. Disaster is a natural hazard combined with human vulnerability. In disaster management, focusing only on prevention and preparedness while ignoring the social and economic conditions that create vulnerability will be incomplete. A holistic disaster management should include mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery phases. There is a need for places of memory for post-disaster recovery and remembrance. Disaster museums and memorials play a vital role in the preparedness and recovery phases of disaster management. These memory spaces should be designed with a multidisciplinary approach. Landscape design with therapeutic approach, artistic objects, attractive and engaging spaces will attract visitors. Young individuals who have not yet experienced a disaster will strengthen their sense of belonging, recognition, and understanding of the history of the region, as well as their sense of social unity by seeing a past with ethical and heritage value in such areas. Overall design language of the memorials should not offend disaster victims. A friendly approach should be adopted, and inclusiveness should be ensured by considering the needs of different age groups and disadvantaged groups. In addition to that, the therapeutic aspects of plants should be utilized to calm disaster victims. Plants can have positive effect on visitors with their visual stimulation, perfume, touch, and symbolic expression. In conclusion, building a resilient society requires understanding the nature of disasters and taking precautions as individuals, communities, and relevant actors by recognizing potential threats. Disaster memorials should be seen as a vital part of disaster management, designed in inclusive and friendly language, and used as a tool for recovery, rehabilitation, education, and raising awareness. This is the end of our presentation. Thank you for your time.
So thank you for the presentation. So we've come to the end of the first set of 4 interesting presentations. And I would like to thank all the authors for their contributions. And I pass on now to the chair to guide the first roundtable discussion. Chair, thank you.
So does anyone have any question to the authors? Okay, so I might start actually. I had several questions, but also due to the very limited time, we cannot extend it further. Actually, I found it a very interesting and diverse session with articles discussing different topics, you know. So the first one was discussing the safety measures in shopping malls in particular. The second one, which is very interesting, also discussing the way or the methods and approaches towards waste management systems. The third one on the heat waves and, of course, the challenging challenge of in cities. And lastly was the post-disaster memorials, which I found it very interesting, rich of very nice and you know great examples from around the world. So it was very enlightening actually, because I think and this is maybe my question to the fourth author, Professor Aysel, if you're here, or any of the authors. I mean, you presented several examples of museums and memorials around the world, which are even speaking about, you know, architectural elements and architectural design. They seem to be very, very nice and interesting designs, you know, architecturally, the form, the aesthetics, and so on. But most of them did not reach us. So we are, you know, practicing architecture for years and years, and so many of these examples did not reach us. I wonder really why. Maybe this is a general question, even not only to the author to raise. So why are there really rich examples of such great architecture around the world that did not reach us in this part of the world? So for example, I'm in the Middle East at this moment, and there are a couple of examples that presented. One was in China, which was a great architecture, and the other one in Brazil that we have never heard of. So that's my first question. Probably it's a general question for whoever wants to engage in the discussion, especially the author. My second question is actually to the first paper. The first article, the assessment of knowledge and fire safety among employees in shopping malls. My question actually, because I'm also teaching codes and legislations. So I was wondering, in that particular part of the world, so I think that was in India, if I'm not wrong, please correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't there any codes and legislations by the country that actually takes these measures into consideration? Because this is how we create the fire code, for example. We have to consider how people move, how people circulate, how people actually react to our sometimes questionnaires, as you did. And then accordingly, we create the code. Accordingly, we create the proper distances and so on, to have, you know, a good or a sufficient or a proper distances and circulation. So why is already there's a problem and then we're asking people? So this is my question to the first author, whoever of the authors are. I think the author is also one of the co-chairs, right? Dr. Sampa.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know if my question was clear, but.
No, it's clear. So thank you. Maybe I'll start.
Yes,
thank
please.
you very much for that interesting question. Yes, indeed, we have the legislations as well as the corresponding regulations. But the challenge seems to be we have it actually from the implementation end there. So the enforcement. So you find that actually when doing the construction and putting up these shopping malls or public places, regulations are there and they are followed. But after the construction is done, the enforcement is that's where we seem to have a challenge. Personally, I have had an experience where one of these shopping malls, where actually there was I think there was fire alarm, and the way people were the way people were responding to the fire alarm, yeah, it was actually quite disturbing. People were just walking as if nothing is happening there. They didn't even know where to stand, where the fire assembly points are. So the issue mostly is to do with the implementation from the regulatory authorities or rather the local authorities there. Yes, the codes are there, but the challenge comes from the implementation, which perhaps can be due to, among other factors, to do with maybe the lack of capacity. We're talking about, it's not India actually, it's in Zambia, which is Southern Africa. So you're talking about where even most of these the regulatory bodies, authorities, they even have, in terms of capacity, they don't have even enough human resource and even other supporting used to implement the same inspections there. Thank you.
Thank you. So, I mean, at the end of the article, did you sort of recommend certain measures to be enclosed probably in the coming update of the legislation and codes, or was it only a documentation of the existing codes or the existing fire egress system?
Okay, thank you. So the recommendation was made on the need to actually improve on the regular inspections and also the enforcement of these regulations. Yes, updates, perhaps that is one thing we need to consider. For now, we can actually also carry that forward into the, perhaps even doing the improvements on the legislation. So we've actually taken note of that important comment.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. I'm currently in Cairo, so not very far away. And
Yes.
I think in this part of the world, we have really problems with legislations and codes. And I give you a very simple example, which I was shocked when I knew, because the fire code here, for example, in Egypt, and by the way, I'm not Egyptian, so I came to Egypt a few years ago, and I learned the codes here. The fire code in Egypt is based on international codes and legislation. So they build their own, but with reference to the international fire code. However, the international fire code is updated every 2 years. And the latest updated fire code in Egypt is set on 1998. So that's like around 25 years. So in these 25 years, the international code for fire in the international code for fire in the world was updated at least 10 times, while the fire code in Egypt was not updated once, and it is still referenced back to the 1998. So there is I think a big gap in following the codes in our parts of the world, or in some parts of the world. However, thank you so much for your answers, Dr. Sampa. I would only suggest, or I was hoping to see some photos of the shopping mall that you studied in your presentation. That would actually put us more in the context of the study. But I think it's a great study. The second, third, fourth paper also, there were great, excellent studies. Thank you so much. But we are unfortunately out of time for the first round, and we would like to start with the second round. I think Dr. Snea is here. Are you here, Dr. Snea?
Yes, sir. I'm here, yes, sir. Yeah.
Would you like to start with the second round?
I still have the connection problem. It's better if Sampa sir continues with it, sir.
Okay, I see. Dr. Sampa, would you like to keep going?
Okay, I think that's fine. Let me see if I
Thank
can share the next. I can share the next presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you. The first paper in the second set is actually looking at evaluating urban heat islands mitigation strategies in Jashi using NVMet, a remote sensing approach. So this presentation is, or this article was authored by Nasif Sadat, as well as Sheikh Imam and Professor Asadazam. I hope I've pronounced the names correctly. Oh, thank you.
Hello everyone, this is Sheikh Amin. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for giving me the opportunity to present my research work in this conference, which is titled Evaluating Urban Heat Island Mitigation Strategies in Rajshahi using NVMet, a remote sensing approach. We all are concerned about the growing urbanization trend all over the world. There has been a staggering 168% growth in urban areas between 2001 and 18. And also the forecast indicates that there will be at least 70% of global population living in the urban areas by 2050. And all this increase has negatively impacted the urban environment. The environment has degraded, the solid surfaces has increased and natural surfaces has decreased, which is a resultant factor of heat trap in the urban surfaces. And being a populated country and also a developing country, the urbanization trend is rapidly increasing in Bangladesh. And this heat island effect is also a prominent factor in Bangladesh, especially in the mega cities like Rajshahi, which is the third largest city in Bangladesh. The Rajshahi is also facing the urban heat island effect. So we have investigated that urban heat island effect on Rajshahi and also tried to propose some recommendation to mitigate that. But in the methodology, we can say that this scenario cannot be generalized. That is why study area selection is very prominent factor and initial stage. Then within the study area, selected study area, existing UHI, urban heat island effect analysis is also important. Then followed by a detailed simulation and a specific zone to propose some solution mitigation strategies over that. So here is the methodology flowchart. First of all, as we say, the selection is selection of the study area, then followed by a simulation zone, and also within the simulated data, we can propose some solution and mitigation strategy of heat island effect. And if we see on the study area profile, Rajshahi, the third largest metropolitan in Bangladesh, which is on the tropical climate area, has an average temperature of 22 to 25 degrees Celsius, and the built-up area, being a prominent city, the built-up area is also increasing. There has been an 165 square kilometer increase within 20 years, and within the overall rural to urban migration in all over the Bangladesh, 17.83% is responsible in only in Rajshahi. And all this resultant factor has hugely impacted the degradation of vegetation, the decrease of vegetation in Rajshahi. And these factors have played a catalyst factor behind the urban heat island effect in Rajshahi. And also, as the vegetation decreased, we can see that in 1998 there has been there were 50% vegetation, but within the next 10 years, the overall vegetation amount reduced to 3.9%, and the following next years, there has been a decrease of 4.03% of vegetation due to land grabbing, inflation, urbanization, and all this resulted had 6% growth in the land surface. Here is the simulated data. We simulated this data on the June. Being a tropical climate, there has been 1/3 of the year being the summer season. So we simulated the data during the June, and we say that the overall 35 to the average temperature ranges from 25 to 35 degrees Celsius during that day. But when we consider the overall city, overall district, the urban heat island effect and its mitigation, proposing its mitigation strategies can be very laborious. So we have to pick specific detailed simulation areas on. And in this case, we selected the CBD area of Rajshahi, which is the most prominent zone in Rajshahi and also the commercial vein of Rajshahi. And we studied that area, also simulated the surface temperature, and the simulated surface temperature indicates that during the day it is about 35 degrees Celsius on the surface temperature, but in the evening there has a significant drop of 25 to significant drop, and it becomes 25 to 28 degrees Celsius. And where summer season lasts about 3/4 of the year, this data and this simulation is mostly prominent all over the year. So we can say that there has been a urban heat island effect in Rajshahi. Now, as the focus of our research is to propose some mitigation strategies, we are focusing on that. So first of all, we try to propose a mitigation strategy, which is street planting. And we have seen that before street planting, the simulated data, and we have compared also the after street planting simulation data, and there has been a significant drop of 11 Kelvin within the surface temperature. And the second strategy we propose is green roofing. One is to propose the vegetation in the street level area, and also the vegetation in the roof area or adjacent build frontage. So there are also this comparison of simulated data shows that there has been an increasing, there has been a significant drop of 1 Kelvin in the surface temperature. So what we can say that Rajshahi is prominent city in Bangladesh and facing the urban heat island effect, and urban heat island effect is a prominent problem in Rajshahi, but we can propose some solution or mitigation strategy that can reduce the surface temperature. And one of that is street planting, and the other one is green roofing. Here we can see that after street planting, there has been a significant drop of surface temperature, and also after green roofing, the additional drop. And by calculating all this data together, we can say that there has been significant drop of at least 15 Kelvin of surface temperature. And in conclusion, we can say that the combining this approach of street planting and green roofing can reduce the surface temperature a significant amount, and this research can be a practical tool for urban planners, policymakers in Rajshahi, not only in Rajshahi but also all over the world, to adopt some mitigation strategies and reduce the heat island effect in any cities. So thank all of you for giving the opportunity to present my research work. Thanks.
Hey, thanks for watching Joyce's YouTube channel.
Thank you for the presentation. The next presentation is looking at water urbanism. So that is a flood resilience through water-based solution. The paper is authored by Professor Benjen O'Hari, as well as Marine J.G.
Marin. I'm dealing with the topic water urbanism, flood resilience through water-based solutions. Water, once the elixir of life, is now becoming a topic of concern. According to the IPCC, approximately 60% of all adaptation responses documented are about adapting to water-related hazards since 2014. The Indian subcontinent is now becoming vulnerable to such hazards, especially flood-related ones, regardless of the high mountainous to lowering South Peninsula regions. Kerala is one of those South Peninsular states experiencing floods annually, especially after the devastating flood that occurred in 2018. This paper aimed to formulate recommendations and strategies for flood resilience through water-based solutions in Kerala. The outcome of this paper explores the strategies for integrating water into the urban fabric as a primary priority. So for the easy understanding, I have break this into 3 sub-questions: what, why, and how it works. So what is water urbanism? It's a design practice and a process. Design practice that integrates social physical infrastructure, public health, and urban water cycle, and a process that correlated to the water entity and places that evolved with human culture over the time period. And why it is important. Once water networks was the foundation of urbanism. The city started from there, but the need of human expanded over the fragile landscapes. We plan infrastructure along with the build started sprawl and threatened the rhythm of nature. This led to the ecological imbalance, and thus we face the disaster as its after effects. Along with expansion, the culture has changed. The time get valued, the speed get counted, how fastly reach and how fastly the economy grow. Thus, the change in culture led to the shift in urbanity. So it's the time to take serious actions. What urbanism trying to put forward to integrate the water cycle with urbanism and regaining the natural balance. Thus, it expected to reduce the effect of climate crisis, but only synergic attitude can help the earth to survive more. In such case, an urban designer can put forth strategies to integrate the water cycle with urban design along with other institutions through a great synergic approach. And the third question is how it works. It's a water urbanism provides some set of principles and elements that become the tool that has to be applied in design for getting resilient environment. So the literature study included studying some theories and different approaches related to water urbanism. So from theories and different approaches, some principles are assimilated. From theories, according to UFO in 2008, water urbanism is considered as potential relations between water and urbanism. And in 2015, Rising mentioned water urbanism as systematic and comprehensive integration of water landscape with the urban fabric to produce water-based environment to improve urban forms, increasing their cohesion and supporting the health outcomes of a community. And from 2018, the Columbia University started to deal with a studio naming water urbanism. It speaks that water urbanism is an innovative approach to design, practice, and pedagogy that holistically joins the study of social and physical infrastructures, public health, and hydrological system. And there are different approaches, and there are many dealing with water. Here are selected 4 approaches from different contexts to study about the water-related solutions. The first one is low impact development that was developed in 1977 in North America, in New Zealand, and the sustainable drainage system developed in Europe, and water sensitive urban design developed in Australia, and nature-based solution that was developed by World Bank in 2009. So the result is the assimilated principles. They're from theories and from different approaches, and these 2 principles were overlapped with the urbanism principles by John Crickens. So from theories, it is understood that the water urbanism deals with the integration of water landscape and urban fabric, water-based environment, economic enhancement, biodiversity, and ecosystem services. And it helps to reduce disaster impact, and the sustainable water cycle is the need of water urbanism. And green infrastructure networks are another strategy that has to be deal with this. And public health and community engagement, inclusivity, accessibility are some of the principles that are derived from the theories. And There are different approaches, and from the approaches, there are some strategies or principles that can be used as water-based solutions. There are urban agriculture, landscape, community engagement, water features, and arts, open space and road creation, floodplain integration, street design, highway design, by incorporating water as its primary element, predictive landscaping, local infrastructure efficiency. These all elements are combining or overlapping with the urban design principles like sustainability, accessibility, diversity, open space, density, identity, and so on. So by overlapping this, we will get the water urbanism principles for the 21st century in the urban design perspective. So the first one is undoing and unthinking. So the first development should be considered the need of that development. Is it a need or not? So thus we could do something like, if it is not mandatory or if it's not need for a environmental growth, we we, we should rethink about the decision, like is our concrete pathways are appropriate for our environment or not, like that. And the second question is the second thing is synergy. Synergy, everything should work or in a cooperation so that we will get a better solution. And the third one is sustainable water cycle for sustainable cities and healthy communities, green and open space integration, decentralized infrastructure and participation, biodiversity and ecosystem services. Productive landscaping and placemaking reduced as a benefit, it will reduce the risk and economic benefits also. So the outcome of this is not only a flood resilient environment, but also a beneficial ecosystem services. So in the discussion portion, I'm discussing by applying this in the context of Kerala. But before applying this in the context of Kerala, we all have to address this, or we all have to consider what is the primary element in design in all over the world, because we all are living in a watershed. So Kerala is a South Peninsula state in India with a topography that ranging from 2,670 meters elevation at east and 0 meters at the west. And Karamana watershed in the Thiruvananthapuram district has been selected as this primary state area. Karamana watershed is characterized by 15 sub-watershed regions. The factors to be considered are the slope, permeability, vegetation, and movement. Is the macro scale region, and the Akullam Basin and associated canal system has been selected as the mesoscale. The point highlighted is the flood that occurred in last year in the Tekkiyar Canal region. So macro scale, mesoscale, and micro scale are the three different scales that has to be incorporated in the design. Karamana watershed, macro scale watershed, sub-watershed scale is addressed. In mesoscale, the canal and river or road category of this system has been addressed, and in micro scale, a group of building or buildings, the community is addressed. Mesoscale and microscale is more concentrated on this urban design study. The major strategies at mesoscale are preparation of master plan in mesoscale based on natural water cycle. The area along the water body has to be reserved to avoid future possibility of disaster occurrence in the floodplain. Reserved area should be in use with respect to the particular guidelines specific to the site context. Guidelines to maintain the natural slope and thus preventing the waterlogging issues, and provide decentralized purification units or detention or bioretention basins as a community space to enhance the quality of the space. And the morphological unit consists of the built and group of buildings. So preparation of slope integrated master plan is an important strategy in this scale also. Build scale strategies has to be provided, such as roof gardens, pervious pavement, permeable compound walls or no compound wall. These regulate the landfill slope restriction in build level through providing the existing contour plan with sanction drawing. Stormwater and sewage guidelines at build scale, guidelines for the water-based solutions be made for build scale, conduct awareness programs and regular evaluation programs are other strategies that has been discussed in morphological units. Putting water at the center of the design, all designs and development should start from the water. Till today, water was just an element. We always focused to find culture, sense of place, quality of place, and sometimes focused on functions and forms. And water was neglected, too little considered or considered as a major element. But here, the design starts from the water. Once again, like before, life begins from water. The city begins from water. So by focusing on water at the core, let it be a city peacefully tended with water. Thank you.
So thank you for that presentation. The next presentation is looking at urban floods modeling. So that is a geospatial evaluation of drainage systems for resilient city planning in Lusaka. So the authors, we have Mukuka Imunga Mulenga, Walia Kawimbe, Dr. Penjani Hopkins Imbiri, Dr. Austin Banda, Professor Erastus Manaumo, as well as Professor Wellington Didibuko Tuana.
My name is Urban flood modeling, a geospatial evaluation of drainage systems for resilient city planning in Lusaka at the 7th International Conference of Contemporary Affairs in Architecture and Urbanism, May 2024. The table of contents will include an introduction, literature review, study area and research methodology, results, discussion, conclusion, and recommendations, and references at the end. The introduction. As the human population and the impending magnitude of global climate change both continue to grow, there is an imperative to better understand the function of cities as ecosystems and their resilient climate-driven disturbances. Floods are prominent disturbances to urban ecosystems. In Lusaka, city flooding has been aggravated due to rapid urbanization. Studies have also noted that variation in rainfall intensity and urban development in cities affects urban catchment through flooding problems. Now, according to Zan, urban development activities that increase imperviousness, urban impact on the urban, which increases flood risk. Urbanization should reduce while increasing flooding and flooding volume. This significantly in some urban areas. Now, what's an urban flood model? Researchers and environmental scientists use urban flood models as a and simulate water flow and other flooding processes, support risk assessment and immediate management in order to develop strategies to mitigate future flooding. Now, in this paper, we will define urban flood models as numerical models that are capable of representing the features of urban ecosystems and the mechanisms of flooding that impact them. Cities are social, ecological, technological systems, and urban flooding results from the dynamics of their social institutions, natural ecosystems, and infrastructure systems in response to meteorological drivers. Urban flood models must be able to represent all three social, ecological, and technological system components and their contribution contributions to flood response. Our literature review involves a study done by Billy 2023, and it says that addressing the global challenge of climate change requires nations to develop advanced improved systems to mitigate its effects. However, in the case of Zambia, the current planning approach to the built environment has overlooked the impact of impervious surfaces and their contribution to water logging. The study area. Our study area was carried out in the suburb of Kamwala South, which is an area within Kabwata constituency of the capital city. The constituency is one of 7 constituencies found in the greater Lusaka city, located in the southernmost part of the city. The constituency lies at an elevation of 1,280 meters above sea level, with a population of 228,000, according to the census and that was undertaken by the Zambia Statistics Agency. The constituency has no perennial rivers, but experiences floods frequently in the rain season. Now, our research methodology included obtaining meteorological information of rainfall patterns of the last 10 years from Zambia Meteorological Department, Lusaka City Airport Station. Now, land use information was gathered from the Ministry of Lands, while the digital elevation model was first obtained as a NASA shuttle data topography mission image footprint from the USGS Earth Explorer. The results. Among other factors that form the final map is a rapid flood assessment report, which was made available by the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit. This showed proximity to streams, drains, and dams, and an elevation, while a map of basins was obtained after the watershed delineation process. The geographical landscape of Lusaka is predominantly flat, with a slight incline in the northeastern region, directing surface runoff towards the Kwerere area. Now, the majority of the city's elevation surpasses 1,240 meters, resulting in diminished flow of runoff and leading to the risk of floods in watershed cut zones, as shown in the final flood map on the next page. Now, what we have here is a map of drainage basins within Lusaka. The findings indicate that Lusaka is situated on relatively level terrain with elevations ranging between 1,155 to 1,342 meters above sea level. The final map shows flood-prone areas highlighted, where slope, irrigation, and other factors indicated a higher flood risk. Now, by using different shading to represent the level of risk of vulnerability, we're able to show how vulnerable these areas are. Lusaka's drains and streams were an obtained feature on the final map, and the residential area was shown as well. So as you can see, the highly shaded area are the most flood-prone areas, while the least shaded area is an area which is likely to be flooded during the rain season. So Lusaka has got many huge portions of areas that are indicated in this way, and this is the huge chunks of land. The discussion. The map of drainage systems was made after loading in flow accumulation, stream networks, and watershed maps. These parameters were used to mark points on water collection pathways, and it was understood that understanding the boundaries of a drainage basin is crucial for managing water flow and potential flood scenarios. Using our findings and scope, built environment, rainfall runoff, and soil parameters, we showed that evaluating of flood vulnerability for different regions that seemed to coincide with the narrow pathways that were obtained using the drainage basins map from the delineation of watersheds were shared as flood vulnerable buffer zones and incorporated into the final map. The implications of urban flood management are that the findings of this study have provided valuable insights into the spatial distribution of flood risk and vulnerability within a city. This information can be used to prioritize flood management efforts, such as the maintenance and upgrading of drainage infrastructure in high-risk areas, the identification of critical infrastructure at risk of flooding based on the integrated analysis of social, economic, and hydrological data will enable proactive measures to protect essential services and minimize the disruption during flood events. Understanding the social, economic drivers of flood risk can inform targeted interventions to address underlying vulnerability, such as improving housing conditions in informal settlements or enhancing community resilience through capacity building initiatives. Now, the conclusion. The significance of this project extends beyond the boundaries of the SAC. It provides a model for urban areas facing similar challenges, where effective drainage management is pivotal to public safety, economic stability, and sustainable development. By addressing the vital problem of urban flooding and presenting a multi-phased approach to solutions, this research not only enhances the quality of life for Lusaka residents, but also stands as a testament to the potential of proactive urban planning and the synergy between technology, science, and community well-being. It underscores the value of informed decision-making and the commitment to resilience in the face of environmental challenges. Now, the study's findings have a significant implication for urban flood management and resilient city planning in Lusaka. By addressing the strengths and limitations of the methodology and providing actionable recommendations, policymakers, urban planners, and stakeholders can work together to build a more resilient and sustainable future for Lusaka City. Our recommendations are that 1, it can strengthen community engagement and provide public awareness initiatives to foster a culture of resilience and empower residents to take proactive measures to mitigate flood risk. 2, the paper can integrate flood resilient considerations into urban planning policies and regulations, including land use zoning, building codes, and infrastructure design standards. 3, we can develop and implement targeted flood management strategies based on the study's finding, focusing on priority areas identified as high-risk zones. Amongst the notable limitations of this study include the data availability. Now, the data availability and quality may pose challenges, particularly in obtaining accurate socio-economic data and hydrological parameters at the required spatial and temporary solutions. Especially this is in a case for obtaining the digital elevation models for Lusaka, the digital terrain model, and all that. Secondly, the complexity of the modeling process may require specialized expertise and computational resources, which could limit the scalability and applicability of the methodology to other extents, to other contexts. Thirdly, the uncertainties associated with future climate projections and social economic trends may affect the reliability of long-term flood risk assessments and planning decisions. These were the references that were used in coming up with this presentation. I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to present. My name is Mukamlenga.
So thank you for that presentation. So we move on to the last presentation in this session, which is looking at virtual reality, an optimum emergency preparedness tool for India. So this is the presentation done by Professor Sneha Reddy.
Hello everyone, I'm Sneha Reddy, Assistant Professor at Geetham University, Hyderabad, and I'm here to present my paper titled Virtual Reality and Optimum Emergency Preparedness Tool for India. So coming on to the introduction part, virtual reality is a simulated three-dimensional environment that lets users explore and interact with a virtual setting via means of turning his or her head and body similar as how we react in a real life situation. Now, classification of disasters. Disasters are of two types, natural and man-made. So natural earthquakes, floods, tsunamis, cyclones, droughts, landslides, etc. comes under natural types of disasters, whereas man-made, fire, building collapse, road, rail accidents, air accidents, terrorist attack, and industrial hazards, etc. So these are two types of disasters which could occur, and the main aim of the research is to examine the optimum virtual reality device, its importance in emergency preparedness trainings, and to include it as part of the framing guidelines of national disaster management authorities. So this is the aim of the research. Now coming on to the disaster management cycle and virtual reality based training benefits. Now disaster management cycle are split into two types. One is the pre-disaster risk reduction, and the second part is the post-disaster recovery. So that is after the disaster occurs, that is post-disaster recovery phase. So here my particular topic or my research would be based on the preparedness, that is the post-disaster risk, so that we could minimize the maximum disaster losses that occurs after the disaster is observed. Now, virtual reality based training, what are the benefits? Now, virtual reality based training incorporates lifelike realism, and it's an alternative to a conventional way of training. It reduces time and cost than that of a real time drill and the tabletop exercises. The National Disaster Management Plan provides a framework to government agencies for all phases of disaster management cycle, such as disaster risk reduction, mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. Now, the objective is to understand the process of working of virtual reality, review the latest research papers, extracting the options for best virtual reality devices in terms of the various parameters such as performance, ergonomics, tracking, display, and costing. Now, conducting a survey upon the mentioned parameters for analyzing the optimum virtual reality device. So this becomes the primary data, and haptics, that is human haptics, that is how a person behaves after the training, is called as a haptics. So that is through sense of touch and feel. So that is the future prospect of the study. And finally, formulating the optimum virtual reality devices for training purposes in India. Now on the right side, if we can see, there are a few images which would explain the causes of disasters, that is inadequate building norms that are followed, over exploiting of resources, extreme urban sprawl, climatic change, pollution, and violation of rules, and human negligence. So these are different factors which are observed, and that becomes the base for the paper. Now coming on to the research gap, India occupies 1/6 of the world's population, and in the first 9 months of the year, it has experienced several disasters like heat and cold waves, cyclones, lightning, heavy rains, floods to landslides. So the disaster has affected n number of human lives, crop areas, houses, and livestock in India. This is as per the census of 2023, and the source has been mentioned there. Now, India ranks the top third in the highly disaster risk country globally as per the World Risk Index 2023. On the right side, we can see a table which explains the severity or the vulnerability of India being on the top third position globally in terms of disaster risk. So next is the results and discussion. Now, as I've mentioned in my objectives, that I would be going through n number of papers which were recently published relevant to my topic. So in that, I've observed two papers, which is one is that a paper which was written on an optimum HMD device, selected few models. So these are the few models which you can see on the screen, and based on ergonomics, controllers, tracking displays. So the paper has finally come up with a solution saying that the best VR headset finalized in terms of stated technical parameters are HTC Vive Pro. But the other studies, like it has also said that Oculus Rift has been proven to be a powerful tool for research and has experienced a greater degree of immersivity and reducing motion sickness. So this is one of the papers, and these two papers becomes the basis of my particular research paper in analyzing the optimum virtual reality device for training purposes in India. Now on the left side, if you can see, there is a virtual reality working process, that is 2D building plans are taken into the Revit, and from Revit it goes into a 3ds Max. From 3ds Max it goes into Unity engine with the C+ programming, and finally the Unity engine is added up with light mapping, and various other materials which were involved into that particular model for proper immersivity. So this is how the virtual reality working process happens. On in the right side, if you can see, this is a comparison between an undamaged and a damaged environment in interiors. That is the before the disaster and after the disaster situation, which has been modeled in a Unity engine. So this is what you can see on the right side, just for an example. And here, this particular slide would explain you the survey form that I have conducted with 4 respondents, and based on different parameters relevant to my paper. So here, as per the findings, Oculus Quest is the optimum virtual reality device that has been suggested by most of the respondents. And on the right side, if you can see, this is a virtual reality device's marketing cost. So if you see, the Oculus Quest is 30,599 rupees Indian currency, whereas HTC Vive Pro is 1,75,000. So here, this shows that 30,599 is much cost effective in terms of training purposes, and also the different parameters. If you can see on the left side, the survey form I have conducted based on controllers, tracking, then performance wise, Oculus Quest is the optimum solution, and even the cost wise also. So this particular thing will give me the solution for my particular paper. And here is the findings and future prospects. If you can see, the 4 respondents reviewers, 75% of the respondents are using Oculus Quest. As per their experience, ease of use, interaction, comfort levels are the major VR requirements. Based on the parameters such as HMD device, tracking performance, Oculus Quest is the optimum virtual reality device as per the respondents' experience and the cost basis also. Then there is one loophole that is observed in the survey form, that there is one respondent who was about to injure while the virtual reality training was happening. Like he was about to hit a wall. So that becomes the basis to say, as an architect, when we are designing for such spaces for training, we always have to adopt or plan for optimum material selections and no sharp edges to be provided in such particular rooms. So this becomes the findings for my paper, and the future prospects of the researchers, emergency preparedness training centers to be developed as a prototype model, understanding the human behavior post the training, then making the process mandatory as part of the National Disaster Management Authority guidelines, and to examine if the training is aiding in reducing the livelihood, property, livestock losses, and economical crisis. So this becomes the future prospects of my paper. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that presentation, Professor. So we've come to the end of second set of interesting presentations. Once again, would like to thank all the authors for the contributions. Chair, Jenna.
Thank you everyone for attending this session. Thank you also Dr. Sampa for monitoring and moderating the session. We are actually over time because there is another session, but I would like only to ask one question to the first author, Nafis Sadat. Are you around?
I'm Sheikh Hamim. I'm here, the second author of the
okay. Yeah, sorry. So Sheikh Hamim. Yeah, you mentioned
Yes.
actually there were two methods of or two approaches or two strategies, right? The street planting and green roofing. And this is in
Yes.
Bangladesh, right?
Yes.
I was wondering about actually the availability of water. I mean, and maintenance and so on. Is there are these two strategies actually sufficient for the context of Bangladesh itself? And if not, what, in your opinion, is the best strategy to do? I mean, in terms of solving the source of problem or tackling the source of the problem. What is the source of the problem in the first place?
Thank you for your question. First of all, if you mentioned about the water availability, so if I may say, Bangladesh is well within the tropical monsoon climate. So there is a very heavy rainfall within covering almost 3 to 4 months of the year. So water is not that a problem, especially when the nature gives you an abundance of water. The tree will grow automatically. And in Bangladesh, you will. I know that in Bangladesh, the land is very fertile. So maintaining a newly planted tree is not an issue. But within the street planting, if you mention the street planting zone, so the in between island of the roads, planting tree is very prominent and easy solution and available approach in Bangladesh. So I don't think the street planting and maintaining the trees are very difficult here in Bangladesh. And you also mentioned about the issues, or if I may say, the reason of this problem. The reason is, people are migrating. Bangladesh is an overpopulated country. People are migrating from rural area to urban area. That is why the urban migration rate is very high, and they are covering up the soft soil, building new buildings, mega infrastructures, developing the roads networks. So all this is a reduction of vegetation, and reduction of vegetation indicates that reduction of urban environment. So when urban environment is degrading, the people and urban dwellers are facing problem, and urban heat island effect is very prominent, and I can say a very prominent issues in developing cities or urban areas. So that is why the urban heat island effect, especially in Bangladesh, is a rising problem especially within the last 5 years. And that is why we tried to study that urban heat island effect and propose some mitigation strategies.
Great. Thank you so much for your answer. Okay,
you.
dear all, thank you so much for attending this session, and our apologies for taking 10 minutes over time. I think next we'll begin the second, the afternoon session of urban resilience and sustainability with chaired by Dr. Sukanta. Are you here? You need to unmute.
Okay.
Yeah, so the floor is yours. You can begin. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. So, anyone there for the next session as an author for this session? Second half session.
Excuse me, are you asking something? Sorry.
Yes, I'm asking about the audience.
Yeah, you can start directly.
Okay. Thank you. So, welcome for this session. Well, we have received almost 7 papers which are listed in the browser proceedings, but unfortunately we have received the links 1, 2, 3, and 4, one additional. So we'll play all the talks with you, and I will also invite our co-chair of this session, Professor and Head Bokota Sofenia. I think Professor is here. Or we'll if Professor is not available, then we can go to direct the lectures, session lectures. Okay. So this is this paper presented by author PhD candidate Rahan. This topic on morphological effect of space on urban resilience, and the case of as a case study Golma city in Algeria. So first let's see what he has presented in his this paper.
Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Bishlim. I am a PhD student at Alanya University, Algeria. It's a pleasure for me to be a member of the 7th International Conference of Contemporary Affairs in Architecture and Urbanism. My presentation will be about the morphological effect of public spaces on urban resilience. The case of studying is Galma city in Algeria. So I will be starting by a view of the content of my presentation, a small introduction, what is resilient public spaces, the method and material of the work, results, discussion, and conclusion. So while each city boasts a unique urban form, culture, history, and identity, they all contend with a common set of challenges in today's world: rapid urbanization, population growth, and climate change stand as the three primary forces confronting global cities. It can be applied to diverse urban challenges, deepening in our understanding formative approaches. So these approaches are essential for cities to contribute to climate stabilization and achieve sustainable development goals, social cohesion, economic stability, environmental sustainability, infrastructure robustness, and effective governance are all crucial aspects of urban resilience. So the philosopher Hannah Arendt viewed the public spaces as the cornerstone of democratic citizenship. She argued that public spaces serve as a vital sphere for citizens to come together and engage in collective action. Public spaces from grand squares and bustling boulevards to peaceful gardens and vibrant playgrounds are the building blocks of the city's image. Together, the interconnected network of streets and public spaces forms the image of city. It is stated that although public spaces are considered as they are gaps between buildings, they serve as meeting place, marketplace, and traffic spaces. So a resilient public space is it is important for resilience. We need to shift our perspective on public spaces and of course to see the impact of technology on these public spaces. So the public spaces play a crucial role in all aspects of urban resilience, social, economic, and environmental. They are interactive and creative vibrant city. A well-designed public spaces strengthen community, especially during crisis. Public spaces are no longer seen as leftover area, but as a key focus for urban development and renewal. The way we design and use these spaces needs to adapt our changing society. Technology has double-edged effects on public spaces. It can create social barriers through digital aspects, but also offer new ways for people to interact. So the morphology of public spaces plays a crucial role in enhancing urban environment resilience. So the aim is to understand how these spaces can contribute to mitigate the impacts of climate change and improving overall urban resilience through a methodology that interacts spatial analysis, urban morphology, and environmental consideration. Experts seek to create frameworks that guide the development of public spaces to enhance environmental resilience and reduce the vulnerability of urban area through the various threats. So we have two steps. The first one is the morphological analysis, The second is the pedestrian movement, PMF, flow analysis. Of course, the methodology of the research is based on comparative approach between a resilient public space and the case of studying. So the case of studying is a square which is located in the heart of Galma city, the heart of a colonial fabric. So we used the two resilient public spaces, the first one and the second one, and comparing each characteristic of the both resilient public spaces to the case of studying. We have analyzed the shape, urban fabric, orientation, surface, compactance, building closeness, openness, perimeters, building elevation, building height, existence of nature, and historical value. The square also of Martil experiences a distinct pattern of pedestrian movement through the day. So we have the first dominant flow, A1, enters the public area from the west side in the morning and heads toward the center. Another significant flow, A2, reaches the northern edge of Gelma's urban fabric. So the multifunctionality, the connectivity, the environmental design, and the social cohesion are all important aspects to consider during designing an urban or a public spaces. Pedestrian flows can also significantly impact cities' environmental resilience. For example, higher pedestrian traffic can encourage the creation of shade through streets, trees, and awning. So, shade reduces heat absorption by pavements and buildings. Also, promoting sustainable transportation, encourage walking and cycling, enhancing urban climates, pedestrian flow density, and of course, walkability and connectivity. To conclude, public spaces are essential for city image, economy, environment, safety, health, and overall well-being. They play a key role in building social cohesion and fostering a sense of community, especially during crisis. Well-designed public space that combine the principles of urban resilience with good design practices. So this is the key to create a resilient city. The way public spaces are designed and used has evolved. They are no longer seen as leftover spaces, but as central elements in urban development and regeneration. So the new design strategy are needed to create successful temporary public spaces that cater to contemporary needs. While concerns exist about the impact of globalization and gentrification on public spaces, there is growing recognition of their importance in creating healthy and vibrant city. The physical form and layout of public spaces morphology play an important role in enhancing urban environmental resilience. Of course, by analyzing these spaces, their morphology, we can understand how these spaces can help to mitigate the effects of climate change and improve a city's overall resilience. So thank you for your attention.
Learn OpenCV in 3 hours. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel.
Okay, so it was a very nice discussion and in this paper. So next, the paper, we have the link. We'll go to the next paper is titled Unveiling Urban Health Resilience in the COVID-19 Pandemic, a strategic prisma exploration of key parameters and strategies. Presented by PhD candidate Sarah and Dr. Sofiane and Dr. Rahabarian. So I'll directly on the recorded session. Okay.
Everyone. Today I am excited to share with you the findings of our systematic review on urban health resilience in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic. I am Boujma Sarah, a PhD student from the University of Blida, Algeria. For our plain work, we have at first the introduction. Second, the systematic review questions. The development of research question by the PICO question. Systematic review process. And the action and synthesis of the result. And finally, the conclusion. In the face of the COVID-19 pandemic, the resilience of urban health systems has become a critical area of focus. Our systematic review aims to comprehensively analyze the existing literature on urban health resilience in the context of COVID-19, with a particular focus on identifying strategies and interventions that enhance the ability of cities to respond to and recover from health crises by following the PRISMA guidelines for systematic reviews, this study provides a rigorous and structured approach to synthesizing the available evidence, offering valuable insights for policymakers, urban planners, and public health professionals seeking to build more resilient cities in the future. For the systematic review questions, the primary question guideline, our systematic review was: first, how urban farm can affect the urban health, how the urban farm helped the propagation of pandemics, case study COVID-19. For the second question, what are the urban parameters that influence COVID-19? For the third one, what is the level of influence of urban parameters that affect COVID-19? To develop a focused research question, we use the PICO framework, which stands for Population, Intervention, Comparison, and Outcome. For the first one, we have as population the COVID-19. For the second one, we have the intervention by the initiatives, policies, public health, interventions or measures taken. For the third one, the component, we have how various urban form and functional parameters influence urban health resilience. For the last one, the outcome, we have the impact of these interventions on urban public health. The systematic review followed the PRISMA guidelines, which ensure transparency and rigor in the review process. We conducted comprehensive search of relevant literature using databases such as PubMed and Base and Web of Science. Studies were selected based on predefined inclusion and exclusion criteria, and data were extracted and analyzed using thematic synthesis. For the fourth part, we have the identification, the screening, the eligibility, and the included studies. For the first one, we have identified through databases 1,607 for articles for urban health resilience. After excluded non-English studies and non-open access, we got studies screened on basis of abstracts only for 660 studies. For the third one, our studies involved the COVID-19 and some keywords and 7 subject area. Here we got 163 studies. For the last part, we examine the abstracts, and for the exclusion criteria, we have the now related to COVID-19, the related to the mental health, the medicinal articles, economic articles, society articles, not related to urban farm, related to tourism or rural urban. After this exclusion, we got 33 studies with a case study. For the aim of our research, the aim of the research was to provide a comprehensive overview of the strategies and interventions that have been identified in the literature to enhance urban health resilience during the COVID-19 pandemic. By synthesizing the available evidence, this study aims to inform policy and practice in urban planning and public health, ultimately contributing to the development of more resilient cities. The scientific literature states that the goal of the intervention measures is to lower the hazards associated with the primary channels of transmission, contact and droplet to encourage. We got the first is the physical distancing, a reduction of the virus transmission by contact, and finally, to increase the immune defenses of citizens. For our results, we have selected 15 articles. Requirements from these articles, we got the interior spaces as first one with the 12.22%. The intermediate spaces with 6.66%. The exterior spaces with 66%. And finally, the functionality with 24.44%. For the indicators we have for interior spaces, the air control, the comfort of solar and radiant factor, lawns, gardens, and private patio space, private balconies and terraces, grain roof and facade, wider staircases, windows that open. For the intermediate spaces, we got green spaces and corridors, intermediate housing, public spaces between buildings. For the exterior spaces, we got physical distancing between users in public spaces, control of health hygiene conditions, road section of bicycle routes, accessibility to the urban services through the use of pedestrian and bicycle paths to achieve health dimension, shared mobility, dimension of parking area based on the predictable number of users, number of pedestrian paths, width of pedestrian paths, number of one-way paths, green spaces and infrastructure, open spaces. For the last one, we have the shopping proximity and downscaling, residential building density, mixed-use neighborhood, cleanability of the surfaces and systems, flexibility and equipability of spaces to be used for temporary functions. In conclusion, the systematic review contributes to our understanding of urban health resilience in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic. By identifying effective strategies and interventions, this research aims to inform policy and practice to build more resilient cities and improve health outcomes for urban population. For your attention, and I look forward to discussing the findings further during the Q&A session.
Thank you. It was a really nice discussion that how socially and as well as pandemic condition can help in different ways to make us more resilient. It's a good approach. Next, we'll focus similar work, but not considering the pandemic one, which is basically focusing on the breaking barriers, building bridges towards inclusive and resilient cities through social diversity and participations. Presented by PhD candidate Noor and with his associate professor Koskesin. And here is that
and resiliency through social diversity and participation. By what William Shakespeare said, "What is the city but the people? The city is the people." By Henry Barriers, building bridges towards inclusive. By what William Shakespeare said, through social diversity and participation. By what William Shakespeare said, "What is the city?" Interaction in the urban city. In a world struggling with challenges such as displacement, conflict, violent conflicts, urban settings suffer from inequality, poverty, injustice, and racial and class division. cities have grown divided, raising concerns like violence, crime, and racism. As urban planners, we must recognize and analyze the development of solutions to present and emerging challenges. Our hypothesis is participatory urban design in creation of public spaces, which integrate social diversity as a central component, can contribute to the development of inclusive and resilient cities. Our main research question is, how does participatory urban design, specifically focused on the creation of diverse urban spaces, contribute to the development of inclusive and resilient cities? Our methodology is started from literature reviews by NGOs report, and key concepts to case studies, which is case studies in the levels of the participatory urban designs, and we have comparison, we have then conclusion, finding and conclusion. And in order to understand how public spaces could be more inclusive, we need to try to untangle the relationship between sense of inclusivity and the perception of space. We have the literature reviews written from 1995, the diversity and social interaction, and then we have social cohesion, and then we have inclusive cities, and in 2020 we have new inhabitants, new tools for better and urban future. And from this literature reviews, we frame our framework, which is starting from social sustainability as the main component of sustainability. We have the indicators, and across those indicators, we choose the social cohesion, social capital, and we have the participation to have inclusive cities. So our hypothesis is, from urban diversity, we will have social interaction, social cohesion, which contribute to inclusive cities by using participatory urban design, and then we can contribute to social sustainability, which is according to SDGs. How we can achieve it? We have the inclusive urban design, and then we have the elements by PPS, Yale tool, and we have the principles from participatory urban design. Then we can have a tool that we can use it in the future as an urban planner. Diverse urban planning, there are so many definitions about the diverse urban planning. It fosters innovation and creativity, promotes economic growth and well-being, and enhances urban resilience. And there are so many theories about diversity. One is the disadvantage and of course advantage. Other disadvantage, there is some theories that said increased diversity may lead to social exclusion. And the opposite of this theories, we have Jim Jacob, Salin, which is emphasize, both of them emphasize diversity, and it enhances street life and vibrant communities. And diversity creates vitality, creativity, and productivity. And diverse neighborhoods are the fundamental elements of social justice. So the importance of inclusive urban planning, we believe that starting from the core of the scale, which is neighborhood scale, this is our research focus. We believe that starting from the smallest scales, we can contribute, and the impact could contribute to the bigger scale on urban planning skills. And why inclusive urban planning? Because it ensures accessibility and equity, responds to diverse community needs, support economic and cultural richness. Why it is important to have inclusive public spaces? Because it is the center of public life according to UN Habitat in 2015. And what is public space inclusivity? It is public space for all, welcome to all, regardless for socioeconomic status, culture, or background. And there are so many strategies for inclusive public space, especially we choose the participatory design process. So what is the participatory urban design? It engages community in the planning, reflects real needs and of residents, and enhances effectiveness of urban projects, which is according to Jacobs and Florida. The historical development of participatory urban planning started from 1950, early signs of democratic decision making started, to the 21st century. There is now technology, social media, digital technology, and then we have in this we have so many opinions and so many new ideas. And there's the benefits of participatory approaches in diverse urban cities. There's so many benefits like enhancing local knowledge, fostering social inclusion, and increasing sustainability and resilience. The stages of urban designer process from the series, the literature reviews, we have the inform, then we have the consult, then the involve, collaboration, and then empower. And we have so many tools to measure. We have PPS, but we choose the Yale institution tools, which is the Inclusive Healthy Place framework, and we develop these tools to match our research purpose. We have these tools, and we choose as a case studies according to the level of participation. In inform, we choose the superkine. Consult, we have the quarantine in Beirut, Lebanon. As an involve, we choose the open space in TÜRKİYE in Turkey. We have collaborate PV park project, and empower. We have public space in Valeria, Lebanon. Superkine, it's a project in Denmark. The purpose of the project to foster social integration and enhance community engagement through unique urban design that incorporates elements from diverse culture represented in the area. The level of this participatory urban planning, it is informed, and we have another stage, which is in quarantine Beirut, Lebanon, by UN Habitat. The purpose is upgrade the urban infrastructure to enhance pedestrian safety and accessibility while incorporating playful elements. And it's also a project that focuses on diversity and inclusivity, and it includes all the idea according to children. And then we have the other case study, which is in open space in TÜRKİYE, which is an island in Turkey. It has so many cultures, so many diverse communities, and the purpose is to enhance urban resilience and sustainability, create an open community hub in response of COVID-19 conditions. And the degree of community engagement, it includes workshops, participatory design sessions, and feedback mechanisms. The other project is PV Park project, which is aimed it's urban park that focus on social challenges, emphasize community involvement and sustainable design to create a safe and inclusive public space, reducing crime and improving environmental and social equality of the neighborhood. The final one, which is in Parelias, it's a project. It's empowerment project, participatory project. There's mixed group of Lebanese, Palestinian, and Syrian refugees, various gender and ages. And the other results, we can say in examine 5 case studies on public spaces. Initiatives shows that community engagement, more community engagement leads to foster more social interaction and accommodation to diversity. Cases like PV Park project increase community participation, lead to decrease in crime. Similarly, in the Barelias project, when refugees and local collaborated in enhanced social cohesion and minimize exclusion. However, in Superkine project, merely informing the public without their active involvement failed to meet the design's objectives and did not foster a sense of belonging among the residents. Thank you.
9 rupees. 9 rupees cannot even buy you this packet of biscuits.
Thank you. It was really a good discussion. Rest of the others paper, I haven't found the links, but there one paper listed which is links is not available. However, it is communicated by me, Dr. Sukanta Das, and Professor Roxani. So I'd like to play the recorded discussion of that paper, which I have already I think. Just a minute. Yes.
Dear Professor Sukanta, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
I'm Khansa Dawadi, and I am a participant. I don't know if you found my YouTube link.
Okay, so can you send it here? Because I haven't.
Yes. I just put it in the comments.
Okay,
the
let me
chat.
check. If it is there, then we'll definitely. No. Okay. I got it. So let's try it. Thank you. Towards rethinking sustainable development, architecture and urban planning, education, a comprehensive study of literature review and the tourism context. Yes, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So first we'll take a look on this paper, then we'll try to go on the second, which I was discussing about the paper. I think, is it visible? Yes.
Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. My name is Khansa Dawedi and I am a PhD candidate from Tunisia at the University of Liège, and today I'm presenting with my PhD supervisor, Professor Leclerc, my paper entitled Towards Rethinking Sustainable Development in Architectural and Urban Planning Education, a comparative study of literature reviews and the Tunisian context. But first, I'd like to start by looking at the figure representing the Earth overshoot day calculated by Global Footprint Network, showing the date when humanity's demand for ecological resources and services in a given year exceeds what Earth can regenerate in that year. This leads us to the climate crisis, bringing new challenges and responsibilities for architecture and urban planning. The built environment is a significant part of today's major consumers of energy and natural resources, while also producing waste. Educating future architects is therefore crucial for making students aware of this alarming situation and for giving them an insight into realistic, sustainable design policies. Teaching sustainability allows for an understanding of the contemporary world and its complexity, considering the interactions that exist among the environment, society, economy, and culture. This complexity presents challenges when it comes to its integration into a pedagogical context and pragmatic transformation. Therefore, a call for a new paradigmatic shift is needed to enhance the implementation of sustainability within university programs. Many studies have been conducted to integrate sustainability issues into architecture education at undergraduate or graduate levels. The literature highlights case studies from North and South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, and Australia. And this diversity emphasizes the global nature of sustainability challenges and the necessity for context-specific solutions, whether it is in the curriculum or in the design studio and its interconnection with theoretical courses. These experiences shed light on new teaching methods as well as content. Then this literature review is followed by online interviews with educators and teachers from renowned academic institutions around the world to explore in depth their innovative experiences in promoting sustainability issues, such as the Canadian universities with the Sustainable Campus Project and the Greening the Diploma of Architecture, the European academic project Educate, which highlights a roadmap for the integration of sustainable environmental design at the different stages of architecture education, and other experiences taking place in Europe, Asia, and especially in Turkey, where the integrated approach seems to be common within all those experiences. So we can identify knowledge and skills needed based on assessment methods or accreditation and regulatory bodies, and teaching methods needed based on case studies, including cross-disciplinarity, knowledge-based process, learning by doing, collaborative learning, performance-based design, integrated approach. So what about the Tunisian context? This study aims to contribute to the discourse on sustainable development in architecture and urban planning education by conducting a comparative analysis of international literature reviews and the Tunisian context. Through this comparative study, we can determine the level of the current implementation of sustainability in the Tunisian architecture program, and specifically the National School of Architecture and Urban Planning at the level of both curriculum and design studio. And to do that, we rely on the state-of-the-art and the literature review to develop an assessment tool with different levels of complexity in terms of awareness, knowledge, understanding, skills, and attitudes. So the focus is, in our research, is on studying three parameters. The first one is the academic curricula. The second one is the design studio with design process, as well as students' learning outcomes. And finally, the teaching method, knowledge, and skills. Returning to history and examining the evolution of architecture education in Tunisia is an important step for this research. The first institution established was the School of Fine Arts of Tunis, founded in 1923. Since then, it has been followed by the establishment of the National School of Architecture and Urbanism, which is the first and only public institution for architecture and urban planning in Tunisia. Several attempts have followed one another to restructure and to improve the teaching of architecture in Tunisia. Both the system of the École des Beaux-Arts and the Bauhaus have had a notable impact. These influences have shaped the educational approach, pedagogy, and architectural practices within the Tunisian architectural schools. The education system was, and still is, heavily influenced by the French model, with its emphasis on classical aesthetics, technical skills. Students are encouraged to study historical architectural styles and to learn the principles of proportions, harmony, and beauty in design. Architectural studies are divided into two cycles, totally 6 years of study. The content of the teachings aim to provide a multidisciplinary artistic technical education with a wide focus on applied sciences, culture, and despite some efforts, sustainability issues are not taken seriously. This can be seen through the findings that reveal a number of significant deficiencies related to an outdated curriculum that fails to address contemporary issues and problems adequately. One of the challenges lies in the disconnection between various theoretical courses and the design studios, as well as the lack of coordination between theoretical principles and their practical application within the same academic year, as well as from one year to another. And if we try to investigate in depth using the assessment tool, we can identify that there is a limited number of courses that explicitly address sustainability in their content. And even these courses only focus on the social aspect of sustainability while neglecting the consideration of environmental and economic aspects. These courses rarely appear during the early years but become more concentrated in the fifth and final year. instead of approaching it by levels of complexity in terms of awareness, knowledge, understanding, and skills, as shown in the international case studies within the state of the art. In addition to determining the level of current implementation of sustainability in the Tunisian architecture program at the curriculum level, we also examined the implementation at the micro level, specifically within the design studio at different levels from the first to the final. By studying both scales, we aim to gain a comprehensive understanding of how sustainability is incorporated into architectural education in Tunisia. This involves analyzing the whole design process, teaching methods, and students' outcomes. Through the findings, we can identify these functions on two levels, the design process and learning outcomes. The design process primarily prioritizes for volumetric exploration with limited emphasis on sustainability, even if sustainability is introduced at the beginning of the instruction. Its presence is often not evident in the learning outcomes, revealing a disconnect between the teacher's pedagogical intentions and the student's perception. In certain cases, and especially in the final year during our observation, students express the intention to integrate sustainability into their projects but encounter difficulties in doing so due to various factors. So they can be aware that there is a lack of knowledge or understanding of sustainable design principles. In other cases, students can be environmentally aware, they can have the knowledge and the attitude needed, but not the skills. The findings highlight the need for a holistic approach to sustainability education that integrates social, environmental, and economic dimensions while addressing local context-specific challenges. Well, that brings us to the end of our presentation.
Okay, Miss Khansa, I think it was okay, and thank you. It was a nice presentation. We can understand the needs of socio-economic points of view also for the sustainable development as well as resilient development of cities. Thank you. Now we'll see. I was talking that paper, Resilient and Sustainable Development of Indian Hill Cities, a strategy towards future development. Okay, so this paper basically I'll give you, as we have sufficient time. I think, is it visible? Can anyone? Hello everyone. When we talk resilient and sustainable development in Indian cities, which is also relevant to economic contribution, through which tourism, local crafts, environmental significance, and watersheds, cultural heredity, so several aspects, historical importance of the sites, which are potentially key factor for quality of life, support of their educations, which are all involved to their development, growth of hill cities in India. In India as well as worldwide, hill cities are facing many challenges like environmental degradation in terms of landslides, soil erosions, deforestation threaten the hill cities. We know in past earthquakes, rainfalls, and many other extreme climate change, the landslides are quite often observed in hilly regions. And heavy rains and snowfalls, soil erosion also often observed in these areas. with the rate of construction development, the rate of deforestation is quite increased, which threatening the particular hill cities. And another aspect, that is infrastructural and social issues. Inadequate infrastructure design, particularly poor connectivity. We know that there are several challenges in hilly areas, which making some problem or challenges for the locality and local resident of that cities, and due to that they are not economically that facilitated that they could provide a good resistant and developed buildings, and they don't. In some cases we have seen in many hill cities they don't have engineered structure. They are mainly non-engineered structures which suffered devastating damages during earthquakes, landslides, floods. So that's why the rate of damages of this infrastructure is quite large if we compared the same scenario in the flat ground. Objectives and how that can be mitigate, how to make that these hill cities, not only in India, we can say over worldwide, to make more resilient as well as sustainable development in hill cities through the different in terms of environmental aspects, infrastructure development and economical diversity. But how? The primary things is community engagement. That is the key factor we need to consider. Those are, I have already discussed that cultural heritage which empower the locality or local resident of that particular cities to boost their capacity in terms of economic values. Then the economic contribution through tourism, local crafts, then environmental significance. So those are the key parameters need to consider in the hill cities development. Next, I'll talk few challenges. I've just presented one figure in the left hand side. These hill buildings, towers, trees are there. Some cases it is not, though it is not visible, it is some roads are there. So if nowadays we see landslide, erosion are very quite common, we can think that why we are making many high-rise buildings, roads, towers, but that build should have some load which may not be capable to carry that slope, because that slope itself have some issue during rainfall, earthquakes or stability problem. So again, deforestation, it is always not that environmentally you are not getting good quality of air or environment, it also degrade the stability. So those are the environmentally and sufficient that you should have protect this kind of facilities in the hill areas. Infrastructure issues, inadequate infrastructure development, it's making more devastating damages in hill areas. If we designed or construct in a engineered way, then we can face minimum disaster and good productivity and sustainable development can be possible with the engineered plan and proper investigation before the construction. So that social and economical points should be considered for the sustainable as well as resilient development of the hill cities. Typically, two problem I have identified that in, let's say, landslides are common problem. This first figure left side is representing that these eroded soil are coming to the residential areas and it gets damaged or potentially buildings may get failed. So this is a big problem in hill cities. Another, in many emergency cases, this type of earthquakes or rainfall slope, they need to evacuate from that particular critical areas, but for that transportation system is play a critical role. But that in some, it is not that it is very difficult. In some cases it is very well constructed roads are available in hill cities, but in some cases we can see in the picture it is very poorly constructed, which may makes that city very vulnerable to extreme events or these extreme scenarios. We should think in both aspects, resilient as well as sustainable development in a different manner. The key principle is for the sustainable development and resilient of the hill cities that it should be resilient, it should be enhancing capacity, withstand and recover from disasters such as earthquakes, floods, heavy rains and other climate change. Sustainable, protect from the economical, social, environmental point of view, and inclusive development, ensuring the equitability benefits for all community members. So I have seen that in recently some visit of the hill cities, they are making high-rise building, but I have discussed with them, do you have geotechnical investigation? They said no. So these kind of high-rise building may get failed. Even in recently, due to heavy rainfall in India, Simla, this kind of high-rise building got collapsed. So this should not be considered in as a sustainable growth or sustainable development in hill cities. This is against the sustainable development. If we talk in a few strategic way, that it should be environmental management and how it should be in a community-based forest management. As I have already mentioned that vegetations and growth of plantation not only help your environment, it will also improve the strength of the soil or against the stability, the stability of the slope. So it will make more the strength of the soil slope. So it will going to enhance the capacity of loading carrying capacity of the building. Soil water conservation, so those are very important, because recently we have seen many problems due to improper drainage capacity and other problems in India. So these are the key point we need to think for their environmental management. Now infrastructure, we all know that recently in Josimat experienced huge damage. So those are the should be not be considered. If your soil is very poor and slope is not stable, the buildings may damage, and particularly in areas building can be experienced more damages. Okay, so waste management, so these are the key factors. Now economic diversification should be considered in a proper way. Let's say handcrafts, tea farming, wind energy can increase the potential development. Main the community engagement through the understanding of the local pupils, education, awareness, skill development can help the growth of sustainable development. And policy of the governance should be considered in such that guidelines should be there, agencies should be there to monitor and evaluations. Then case studies should be important to identify the potential problems. I have done in my previous study that hazard maps, how your slopes is behaving under building loads, roads. So that case studies is important. So one example I have given for the Josimat in India, which is multi-hazard maps. So this kind of more maps will be very required. And future research innovations and call of government action should be required. Thank you very much for your attentions. Thanks for your patience. It was really interested. We have learned that how we can protect the buildings which are situated in the hilly regions, particularly in India. Many activities has been observed, like land subsidence, landslides, which are typically representing with that we should take action and make our hill cities more resilient, and some strategies should be there for the further development. So this was a small discussion based on the last observation and what strategy can be adopted for the future development, which I am personally currently working quite a lot in this direction. And thank you for giving this opportunity to present this work also. So any So anything else? I think we have covered all the available lectures, recorded video sessions for this session. Anything left, or we are?
Professor Sukanta, I just, if you don't mind, I just wanted to thank all the participants for their enriching and inspiring presentations, especially in this session. And I would like also to thank the organizers of this conference for this opportunity to present my research work. And thank you too. Thank you.
Okay, welcome. Good. So now we have almost completed all the lectures. But if you anyone have any questions regarding those sessions or discussion or from the papers, you can discuss. We have sufficient. We had few times. If you want, we can continue, or I'll transfer this platform to the organizers. If you anybody have any questions or any discussion, then you can raise or you can ask. Okay, from organizer side, I think there is no questions and no further queries. So I'd like to transfer this platform or session to the organizers. But before that, I'll thank all the participants and for making this conference in a good and as well as successful. And so those all papers and presentation was really interesting, and we can take all. I hope some participants will be getting motivated from the research discussion, as well as get some help in their research. And it is a really helpful and enjoyable session, I hope. So once again, thank you to all participants. And I wish, because I have seen most of the presenters are PhD candidate, so I would also like to wish best of luck for their research. And thank you for organizers of ICCA U 2024. It was a really good time, and I hope all the best and good success for your conference. Thank you from my side.
Thank you, Dr. Sukanta. So we'll have around 10 minutes break. The meeting will be open, and then we'll start together the afternoon session B on smart cities and urban development. Dr. Shruti, are you around? Dr. Joshi, Shruti Joshi. Dr. Joshi?